Okay, what a show we have lined up today. Immediate reaction to food, delayed reaction to food. How do I know? I teach about food allergies in the opening of today's show. Dr. Lee Cowden heads up an organization called ACIM. He's going to teach you to awaken the sleeping doctor in all of us. How do I know if my eye twitches, my tummy problems, my skin problems are linked to nutrition? Dr. Cowden's going to teach us how, okay? You guys know a little bit about Jenny Herbachik, Nurse Jenny. She's here all the time talking about cancer. I did an interview with her a while back, and we're going to expose that. It's really, really a good one. And then finally, do I need this pharmacy? Do I need these drugs? All that and a whole lot more on today's Know the Cause. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. Years have gone by so quickly. It was 1972. I got back from Vietnam, spent my final year in the Navy at the Naval Training Center in San Diego. And then I got out and I went looking for a job, and we were kind of in demand. I mean, we were kind of pseudo nurses. You know, we were trained corpsmen. We had been through emergency medicine training and so forth. And I took a job with an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Los Angeles, a man who mentored me and was one of the greatest doctors you can ever imagine. He was an ear, nose, throat guy. His name was Howard Gottschalk. It was right near the LA airport. After working with Howard a few years, he sent me to the Washington University School of Medicine to learn about food allergy. We were doing skin tests for regular inhalant allergy. But I gotta tell you folks, so many of our patients would come back and say, you know, I don't know if beer has anything to do with this, because when I drink beer or have a glass of wine or two, I feel miserable the next day. And then you give me a shot and it doesn't seem to get better for a few days. So we began wondering, wait a minute, we're charging a lot of money for an allergy workup to respiratory things, you know, dust, danders, molds, and so forth. And I wonder how much of a role food plays. Well, we didn't know how to do food allergy testing, and even allergists themselves said, you know, food allergy testing with skin tests, not really reliable at all. By the way, the gold standard is to have a patient in the allergist's office eating a peanut, but that could provoke anaphylaxis. I mean, they could die by doing that. And you want your EpiPen and all that life-saving stuff with you, but that's not a good way to test if you can provoke a death reaction. So through the years, it's varied widely. I want to show you a magazine circa 1981. So this goes back a whole lot of years, and then I want to show you what's in the magazine. Okay, here's the magazine. It has Tom Selleck on the cover. Man, he was a good-looking guy. Remember him in Magnum P.I. And on page 112, there's a picture of a not-so-good-looking guy. Look at me now in 81. How old am I? 30 years old, 31? I know that the kids hadn't come along yet. And this was a time when I was working with Howard Gottschalk. Tom Link wrote this article. Now, no meat, fish, vegetables, dairy products, a new, simpler road to uncovering nasty food allergies. Okay? Folks, what we were doing at that time was crude. And I'll tell you who are technically oriented, the nurses, doctors watching right now, it was a neutrophil degranulation test that determined anti-antibodies made to certain foods. So we would test beef and corn and wheat and fungus. By the way, bakers and brewers' yeast seem to always universally react to people's blood. So this wasn't a scratch test where they might have an allergic reaction. This was taking a tube of blood. He sent me off to the Washington University School of Medicine. And there I met Miriam and William T.K. Bryan, and I became the first person to bring this test from Missouri back to California. And we set up the lab. Dr. Gottschalk spent a lot of money. We hired another lab tech, and he and I would do all of these lab tests. Soon it became apparent that if we did the whole workup, the respiratory and the blood test, it was expensive at that time, maybe $300-400, we'd have a better picture of what that person was allergic to. So here comes a headline from the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. Moms and dads of kids with food allergies think they're allergic too. Go figure. And I'll never forget this. This is the funniest thing. Once I got into this field, 1972, 73, 74, a guy by the name of Robert Hamburger or something, he was an allergist out of the University of California, San Diego, I believe. The headline in the Los Angeles Times, "Food allergy actually very rare, science finds." Really? Of course, he was wrong, folks. But for some reason, that made headlines. I was finding people left and right had food allergies. Okay, I'm going to advance this in the interest of time. The year 1980 was a pivotal year for me. A doctor sent me, and we didn't have Google searches or computers back then, a doctor sent me a research paper that said, and I'll quote, "antigenically intact food macromolecules exiting the gut lumen." Wait a minute. Tiny bits of corn and eggs and milk were exiting the gut lumen, the intestines. Once they get out, they're readily accepted in the bloodstream and they make antibodies. What were we measuring? We were measuring foods people were eating. Now, what drilled the holes in the intestines? I think the damage done by antibiotics, they are mycotoxins, can actually accrue in the intestines, and these philemmatous fungus can poke a hole through the intestine, the food leaks out. Repair the gut, food allergies seem to dissipate. So do moms and dads have food allergies? Yeah, I think they do. I know kids do, and I think antibiotics might be the start of many of them. Hope that helped you. I am so excited. Coming up on November 3rd and 4th, you and I get to meet in Orlando, Florida, the Academy of Comprehensive Integrative Medicine, ACIM. Dr. Lee Cowden heads it, cardiologist. He is here with us right now. Thank you so much. You and I have known each other. We were kids, 30 years.
30 years.
30 years. And welcome aboard. Thank you. And thank you for putting on the seminars. Last year's blew me away.
Yeah.
I mean, all the celebrity docs were there.
Yeah.
And you're putting on one this year, and you're inviting the public to attend.
Right.
And I want you guys out in droves at this. So tell people a little about it.
Yeah, November 2 is Friday and Saturday, 2 and 3. And we're going to have some of the most amazing integrative medicine practitioners from all over the world, actually. You know, we have speakers from Puerto Rico and from Nova Scotia and from Austria and so on, but a lot of practitioners from the United States. And they're going to learn, the people that come are going to learn about all types of chronic diseases and how those are reversed whenever the allopathic medical community says they cannot be reversed.
I wonder how many of this viewing audience have heard bad news. You have cancer, you have Alzheimer's, you have autism, your son has got to live with this. Folks, according to them, allopaths, he or she does. According to Dr. Cowden, whom my wife and I have seen so many miracles come out of his office, you may not have to. And these are doctors who said, we're not comfortable telling patients that. We want to try everything in our power. And they look, when something's ringing here, trust me, it's a here problem. It's not a here problem, right? When you have asthma, it isn't a lung problem. It's a you problem. And that's what these doctors know.
Yeah, whole body medicine, not just treating body parts, but treating the whole body. And that includes, the mind, emotions, soul, spirit, the whole thing, not just the body.
I have heard your talk on autism, and it floors me. You're going to give that talk again?
Yes.
Okay, good. What other speakers are?
Yeah, well, we have Dr. Jonathan Wright teaching us how to not go blind, not go deaf, and not lose your mind.
And
I think that's all pretty important.
He's been in the history books. I mean, this doctor is amazing. Out of Seattle, is it?
Yeah, out of Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
And we have Dr. Norm Shealy, who in 1971 established the American Holistic Medical Association, so way ahead of his time. But he's going to teach us about how we need to take control of our own health. What a novel concept, instead of delegating it to somebody that cares a lot less about it than we do.
I.e., sometimes our doctor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jenny Hermachek is going to teach us how to prevent cancer by doing the proper testing in advance.
Jenny's on this show all the time.
Yeah.
People come out to see her.
Yeah. Great job.
Yeah.
Dr. Stephen Sinatra, a pioneer, is going to teach us how to live a higher vibrational health. Okay, that's all the way from the foods that we eat, to the grounding that we do to the earth, to the avoidance of cell phones and cordless phones and Wi-Fi and all that other stuff.
Can you guys imagine? He's a cardiologist. He's like Dr. Cowden. They're both cardiologists, close friends for many years. We're learning about cell phones from a tickerologist. Does it get any better than that? But that's not all. Dr. Mercola, is he coming again?
Dr. Joe Mercola is going to teach us how to eat the right diet to both avoid cancer and reverse cancer. And so that's going to be a dynamite talk.
It's just, the lineup here is spectacular. And I guess I'm going to be emceeing on Saturday.
Yeah, you're MC on Saturday, and we're going to have you speak on Friday. So we want the public to be there for both days. We have some amazing presentations on both days, Friday and Saturday, November 2 and 3.
You know what I loved about last year's? You take really intelligent guys, Sinatra, Mercola, you, she, all these doctors, and you trim it down to our level. No huge polysyllable words. It's a simple, hey guys, here's what we need to do. You've been told it's the end for you. Is it? Who makes that decision? A guy with a stethoscope or the man upstairs? And maybe it's not time for you to go home. You have to attend this. This sounds like fun. Friday night, huh?
Yeah. Friday night we're going to have an awards banquet. Going to be an amazing event. We'll have live entertainment. We're going to have a variety of different categories of awards. You know, Pioneer Award, Game Changer Award, and so on. We have some surprises for that event. So people are not going to want to miss that because they're going to be blown away by our surprises.
It's been 30 years. I'm always blown away by this guy because my wife and I sent him some friends that we didn't think would be here today. They're here today, and this is decades later. So Dr. Cowden's work, stands alone, and now he's teaching other doctors to do this, and he has this academy. By the way, when you're there, talk to him or one of the attendees about becoming a student, getting credentials in comprehensive medicine. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you, Doug.
You bet. Folks, today I want to address for the next, few minutes a topic that I think is on many of your minds, and I know it stays on mine, and that is, do I need to take this medication? Do I need all of these hospitalizations? Far be it from this show or Doug Kaufman to ever tell you, don't take the medicine, don't go see the doctor. But sometimes we jump into these things very quickly, believing that a medicine or a hospital is our only way out. Okay, a headline struck me the other day, and it was on Science Daily, which I just love. Those of you who want good information, ScienceDaily.com is it. This was the headline in their Science News. Lack of pharmacy access sends some patients back to hospitals. Hospital readmissions are a $17 billion annual problem, they say. Not normal to have to go back into the hospital, and it's very common where there's a lack of pharmacy. So what does this tell us right out the gate? Oh, it's only a pharmacy and a hospital that can fix you. Folks, at my age, which is 67 years young, I probably should be on, 3 or 4 medications. I probably should see the urologist every year for a prostate exam. All I do is go to the dentist, right? I don't go to a doctor. And yes, I've woken up in the morning with stiffness. And Ruth and I just laugh. That's right. We were at the birthday party last night. I had a piece of birthday cake and a little bit of ice cream. Now, 2 days later, no stiffness. I feel like $1 million. The problem is, folks, doctors don't know this. Diet has been in a major way, brushed aside. Why diet? You can take our medicines. I saw an ad the other night for Otezla. It's a medication you take for psoriasis. And it goes on to say, look, this could kill you. So is this so bad that one of the side effects of the drug is it could kill you? We're not thinking. And when I read a headline like that, people can't get better without a pharmacy or without a hospital. What are we thinking? We're thinking they're right. And sometimes they are. But I think the majority of times, if you would change, listen to this, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. You get up in the morning and hobble off to the bathroom, and then you run in and you make your cereal and your toast. You're a creature of habit, as I was 40 years ago before I began to understand that grapefruit is what you need for breakfast. Eggs is what you need for breakfast. It's not cereal. That's grain, and sometimes grains are impregnated with a fungal poison. Dr. Mark Stengler, a friend of mine in San Diego area, he's a naturopathic doctor. He wrote a book called Prescription for Drug Alternatives. This is the book. Wonderful, wonderful book. And in this book, Susie Cohen, our dear friend who's been on Know the Cause many times, says, a must-read for every person who wants to achieve better health and avoid the dangers of synthetic medications. She's a pharmacist. Pharmacists are now thinking, I wonder if supplements, I wonder if diet, I wonder if doing what your body's supposed to do, exercising on a regular basis, can preempt or prevent the need for medications and surgeries. Look, I don't know how long I'm going to live. I'm going to live not 1 second longer than the good Lord allows me. What I don't want to do is run from doctor to doctor. What you're going to get there? Medication. And go on medication after medication after medication. And then be concerned because a pharmacy is far out of my area that I'm going to be readmitted to the hospital. You know what that sounds like to me? Hospital mistake. So you're going to get back into the hospital. Cha-ching. Bad for you, not bad for them, because you got to get out of jail free card. You have an insurance card. And the hospital's going to bill you again, no matter if you have to go back 10 times. Where are the policing agents in medicine? Where are the people that say, wow, you've been back to this hospital 3 times to have that sewn up again? Why didn't they sew it up right the first time? And oh, by the way, here's 16 medicines that you can take. Here's what Know the Cause is all about. Understanding the etiology, the cause of that ringing in your ear, or those blepharospasms, that bouncing eyelid, or that irregular heartbeat, right? Or this skin problem all over your body, or your depression. Understanding why. It is not, I can assure you, a medication deficiency. All a medication does for a few hours at a time is erase a symptom, but it does keep you beholden to the doctor who has written the medicine. You can't get it unless you keep going back and back and back to him. Books like Drug Alternatives, books that help you study diet are really the way to go, but the road forks as we reach a certain area or a certain age. And that is you can continue going to doctor after doctor, or you can try and figure out the cause on your own with the help of the medical profession.
I was having a lot of irregular heartbeat. I'd been in the emergency room Thanksgiving morning is the last time. Through pursuing natural things, Dr. Dieterle is my physician, and he referred me to Dawn, said I should see her, and she got me started on the diet here about a month and a half ago. And I was also having some problems with ulcerative colitis, and I've been off my medication for that now for about a month. I don't think I've goofed up on the diet yet. I'm pretty strict with it. Pretty easy to try, and it doesn't have the side effects of drugs. I've been down some of the roads with drugs in the past, and it's hard to put my finger on it, but I always just figured that there was some way of fixing this without, drugs or surgery, and it sure. Well, my blood pressure, I have to attribute that to the diet too. 2 weeks ago it was 104 over 60. And last week it was 110 over 70. And I'd been running usually in the mid to upper 140s over 85 to 90.
Look at that smile. Jenny Herma is a registered nurse who wrote a book, and she's changing the world. Look, I'm lecturing a couple of months ago out in Los Angeles, and I see all these women running around with no lump, no bump. There's stickers all over their body, and I thought, okay, that's cute. Who started this? Who would start it than the person you're looking at right now? Nurse Jenny, I'm gonna call her.
Yes.
The book is called Cancer Free, Are You Sure? Folks, this book tends to be a life changer for people, and here's why. I found it, as you see, I read it. I find it tremendously liberating. Whereas most things I read on cancer are a little bit depressing. This says, okay, I gotta tell you something. Someone felt this lump. And if I was smarter then, when I was 45 years old, I would have had a couple of tests done that could have seen a lump long before someone palpated that lump.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about this, and those who are interested in this. You say I waited too long. I had ductal carcinoma cancer. But you don't have to. And even when you were told, hey, good news, Jenny, you're cancer-free, get back to the hospital and work, you discovered that you weren't.
Exactly. Actually, after I went through the allopathic treatment, I had 6 surgeries, 4 rounds of chemotherapy. I wrote this book because I don't want anyone to go down the path that I walked. To be a nurse and to have other people's names on the chart is one thing, but to see your name on that chart is completely different. So I finished my treatment, and I tell a lot of stories along the way in the book because it was just amazing to me, the things that kept happening to me. But I went to a breast cancer support group, and it was the first meeting of this group, and so there were a huge turnout that night. I want to say close to 50 ladies showed up. Each person went around and said their name, where they were from, what type of cancer they had, what their treatment was. And it started out fine, but as the evening went on, I was becoming shocked. And I'm sitting there thinking, my goodness. And I'm counting the ladies, and I'm thinking half of these women were told they're cancer-free, or they were all told they're cancer-free because they had clean surgical margins, they have a clean PET scan, but more than half of them had had a recurrence. And Doug, I literally sat there in that meeting and I looked on my back and I thought, do I have a target on my back or what? And I pictured this big red and white target. And my book has the red and white color. Because I thought, something is wrong here. If these women were told they're cancer-free, they had the same cancer I had, and it's come back, there's somebody's not telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Do you now teach women and men tests that you have discovered that people can have done to really help discern whether or not your margins are clear or there is cancer growing in your body?
Absolutely. For instance, there's a test called Oncoblot, and that test tests for the ENOX2 protein. It's a little protein that's put up by cancer cells, only by cancer cells. And if you have about 2 million cancer cells, which sounds like a lot, but it's like the size of a pin drop. If I put a little dot of ink on my finger, that's how many 2 million cells is. If you have about that many cells, they will pick up the ENOX2 protein if you have cancer. And even better than that, they can tell you positive or negative. They can tell you the site of origin based on the osmolarity point of that ENOX2 protein. So if you have one of the major 27 types of cancer, you're going to know positive. Oh my goodness, I've got some a lung lesion going here, I've got colon lesion going here. And then you can run down to one of our big major cancer institutes and have a scan, and they probably won't find it. You have found it so early.
That's what your book said, and that really impressed me, is amylase. You say simple tests that you can run out to your doctor's office and get that aren't interpreted the way, medically speaking, that we're able to interpret some of these tests. And you are really proactive now, making certain that your body is cancer-free after this scare. This was 2009 you were diagnosed. Are you convinced, sitting here today in the year 2015, 2016, that you don't have cancer?
Well, actually, I'm leaving here today to go get my yearly check. I'm going to get a circulating tumor cell test, which is a different test than the Oncoblot test. The Oncoblot test, I would tell people, that's a great test if you never had cancer and you are one of the 1 in 2 men that live in this country, or 1 of the 2.5 women that live in this country, because those are the statistics for getting cancer. We can't hide from it anymore. And so we might as well find it early. And as you said, like, get on the phase 1 diet, and detox, and do some things to halt it.
Thank you for your reference to me and my work in this book also. I mean, this is so exciting to finally shake your hand. Congratulations, folks. You'll end up in a doctor's office getting scanned or getting poked and prodded. There may be another way. Even when the doctor says you're clear, you may not be. That's what Cancer-Free Are You Sure is all about. A must-read. Thank you, Jenny, for coming.
Thank you.
And there is a show. That's a wrap, as they say. Isn't that interesting? Folks, I'm not here to tell you don't go to the pharmacy, don't take those drugs. I'm here to teach you that alternatives may exist. For me, they have. I'm 68 years young and I feel 30, and I don't take any drugs and I don't go to doctors. So the road forks. Through ACIM, what Dr. Cowden was talking about, you can learn how to take better care of your health. What'd you think of that picture of me back from, the 1980s? Around the same time, I wrote a book, The Food Sensitivity Diet. I expounded on it, in today's show, food allergies, right? and they took a picture of me, a snapshot of me, for the back of that book. This was in the early 1980s. I just can't believe how I looked then. Any of you look at old pictures of yourself? Here it is, The Food Sensitivity by Doug Kaufman. Look at this. There it is as I say goodbye to you today. The old Doug Kaufman. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.